Welcome to Worldwide Entertainment TV, and I am your New York host, Miss Goldie. Right now we're at the lovely YouTube Space Studio, New York, and it's such an amazing pleasure when we are able to explore differences in wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. And the knowledge is where the foundation of hip-hop began. And today we will get those facts. And my guest has been bringing that knowledge to hip-hop for a very long time. Let me introduce you to my brother, also a 914 native, Mr. Kasim Allah. Greetings, brother.
Peace, peace.
So, how are you today?
Everything is good. I'm great. Thank you.
Good. And thank you for being a guest on Worldwide Entertainment TV. It's our pleasure. I love to interview people that bring forth that was a part of the original foundation of hip-hop. And you have so many things we're going to get into and explore. I just don't want to spill it all on at 1 second. But when did you start in the music industry?
Okay, the industry, we started pretty much in '93. We got signed. My group was Invisible Men. We got signed to EMI. And first single we put out of our own was a song called Haagen-Dazs. It never got released on EMI. It dropped on Henchman Records or what have you, but that's when we came into the game.
And who else is a part of that group?
That would have been my brother Shaquan, our producer slash DJ. He was the cornerstone and the one that had 120 when we were all getting Knowledge Yourself. That would be Infinite Thought, who was 16 while we were all 21, 22, enlightening all of us. So, you know, to show and prove the babies are the greatest. My partner, Kasim Allah, as well. He was the other MC.
So when were you actually exposed to the knowledge, or was that something you were born into? When did you?
Well, both. One, you know, I got Knowledge Yourself. I accepted the teachings when I was actually 21 years old. I was exposed to it young, early teenage years. I think the most formative and the most powerful memory I have of the elders, because in New Rochelle, we had the 5% in the streets. We had the Nation of Islam, the FOI, in the streets. We had Black Panthers in the streets. We had Malcolm X grassroots movement in the streets. They were doing things, community events, they were organized. You know, the brothers would get out there and teach us. And I recall it was a group of brothers, you know, that snatched up me and maybe about 10, 15 young brothers, we about 16. They took us over to St. Catherine's Church. And in the church there was a little room downstairs, and there was a book full of a table full of books, Stolen Legacy, World's Greatest Men of Color, all types of books, ridiculous amounts of books from Superman to Man. And then they started building with us and telling us who we were, because we had no idea, you know.
Right.
I knew about slavery or what have you, but that was all we were exposed to. So at a certain point, you think your history, your heritage is just that, servitude.
Right.
You know. I recall fighting a kid in the 2nd grade because, you know, we were doing a lesson on slavery, and he says, "Wow." Looks right over to me and says, "Wow, that means, you know, back then, if we were living then, you would be my slave and I would be your master." And I punched him right in his mouth and whooped his ass right there in class. And he got suspended. And he's like, "Why didn't he get in trouble? He hit me." So, "Well, you talked about his people and his heritage, and I hurt him." And it was actually a white teacher, Miss Rinaldi, that held me down. So I didn't see then, you know, too much about color. I could see through that to your personality.
Right.
And then I got older. Then I became a nigger to the cops. I became a nigger, you know, to everybody else in the neighborhood. Like, when your voice gets deeper, you become a threat.
You start becoming a threat to the
Even
community.
though you don't know you're a threat.
Exactly. So how has your education of self impacted your life, and who were some of your influences?
Okay, first and foremost, it provided manhood and an example of organization, good orderly direction. One thing about supreme mathematics, it puts one thing in front of the other. One step first will lead you to the next.
Right.
And if you can follow said steps like instructions, then you will come to completion. And that's the greatest thing in the world, because for many of us, just completing a task is a difficulty.
Right.
And, you know, your self-esteem, your confidence in everything is wrapped up, especially in manhood, and your responsibility and the ability to complete certain responsibilities.
Right.
And if you can't, you look at yourself with doubt. And a lot of our brothers, you know, with so many different situations in this system set up against us, are not able to complete things they set out to do. So you doubt your own manhood.
Right. That's super deep. And as far as your hip hop group and the type of music that you make, who is your target projected audience, and what is your style of hip hop?
Okay, I guess today there are different styles and categories or what have you. Because you know, like I know, the MC spit the rhymes.
Right.
And the people listen. So my target audience is the people.
Right.
I don't care who you are, white, black, whatever, you know what I mean, green, purple, sick, healthy, it doesn't make a difference.
Right.
You know, that's my target audience. My style of hip hop. Today they would consider that conscious, I guess.
Right.
Lyrical, which that's the funniest thing in the world, because when was hip hop, when was MCing, when was rap not lyrical?
Well, now
today.
In this era,
today,
hip hop is not lyrical, rap is not. It's about really just vibing to a beat, and if we can dance or if we can do a call and answer thing, that's sufficient enough. It doesn't matter what you said in between.
Right, and exact. Now, why you think that is? I am asking you questions, right?
Right. Well, I believe that hip hop was, well, my take on this is when the music industry bought into the prison industry, they needed to change the demographic of the people that they were going to influence to be arrested. So of course they wasn't going to use rock and roll to do it. They wasn't going to use country western music to do it. So they used hip hop. So if we look at our idols, and if they're drinking lean and popping mollies and Percocets, and they're shooting people for cars and jewelry, and they're selling drugs to their own people for these things, and these are the people that we're looking at, that we're looking up to. So in the same token, they used hip hop to destroy our communities.
True indeed. True indeed.
So did I get that right?
You got that right. You know, for me, I recall when Fear of a Black Planet went triple platinum, and they got dropped.
Because they went triple
Understand
platinum.
that, you know? Yeah, because they made this much money, but they also created a certain awareness to the point where, one, these brothers and sisters was waking up a little bit,
right.
a little bit. But when they came home and they heard Chuck D coming out of Molly's bedroom, Billy and Bob and Tommy was playing Chuck D.
Then it became
and
a problem.
and they was calling themselves real niggas. They recognized, damn, they about to go in the same direction as some of these cats. Or you heard, Third Base. You know what I'm saying? They would sit there and call white people devils.
Right. And Third Base is on that list that can't get played either.
But of course.
And for people that don't know, it's really hard. And I encourage the conscious rappers to stay conscious and keep teaching. I don't care if one person learns from you in a year, as long as that one person gets it, because they want to keep you quiet, because they don't want us to have knowledge of self. They don't want women to respect themselves. They don't want the black brother to take care of his children. They don't want these things, because then we become weak as a people. If you can cut our heads off, the rest of our body is going to fall with it. So us women, children, we're the body. Our men, they're the heads. So once they get to y'all, they got us. I tell my sons and my brothers all the time. I say, when you guys go to jail, guess what happens? You leave us women out here open for anything to happen to us. Anybody could do anything to us. And what are you going to do? You going to bang on the prison walls? You going to keep calling home to see if we all right? What you gonna do?
Write a letter?
You can't do anything. You just left us open to anything in this world, because we are not protected. So now you have women taking on stronger positions because we have to protect ourselves now. We as the men, and if a man do come, he want me to take care of him, and he's not still gonna protect me, because now I gotta protect him. I gotta feed him. So roles have been reversed. Families have been destroyed and turned upside down, inside out. And I mean, with the current state of hip hop, who do we have to blame for this? What do we owe this pleasure to?
Well, we owe it to the fact that music, that conscious music in them 80s really did wake up brothers.
Right.
And brothers started to make a change in a lot of the things that were happening. Once you know yourself, your place in the universe, you assume that place. When I recognize that I'm no longer just a quote-unquote nigga,
right,
a useless eater, a person taking up space in the air, and that I'm the original man and I'm the father of civilization, I'm the God of the universe, and everything that exists on this planet comes from my people, otherwise it would not exist. There would be no history if there were not my people to record said history. There would be no mathematics if I didn't take this thing and look at this thing and analyze and say, well, now I have two of those things. You understand what I'm saying? So, history began with us. Science began with us experimenting the first time on whatever it was to sustain life. Right. Therefore, those sciences were perfected by us. And you can't have a 6,000-year-old person come onto the planet and just take everything away from you without lies, without deceit, and without it being allowed.
Right.
That had to be written. That had to be predicted. You understand what I'm saying?
And you said the key factor, allowed. It had to be allowed, because everything that happens, it happens for a reason. And maybe the reason that we was oppressed in the beginning was to make us stronger later, but maybe we didn't see that.
Well, we saw it because we wrote it and caused it to come into existence. I'm sure you've heard of the teachings of Yakub.
Yes.
That was an original man who was a scientist, who was a father of the devil.
Oh, that's so crazy, because I'm in a movie called G Warriors, and I don't watch science fiction at all. I'm not, if I even think it got some kind of science fiction going on in it, I don't want to see it or hear it. So I actually play a wizard of Yakub.
How about that? A wizard. Well, there were doctors, nurses, and ministers, on the island of Patmos with him. So that wizard probably served, as one of those purposes of a doctor, nurse, or minister.
Yeah, basically they said I can do both. I can do good and evil, but it's like I take from the bad people and I give it to the good people. Like I maneuver stuff around. Like I can communicate with both sides of the spirits. But I wouldn't have even thought about none of this stuff if I wasn't in this movie. Like, being that you brought up that name, so he's a real person. I'm thinking like this is a character that they made up. Maybe I need to dig a little deeper into that. So, what are some of the things that, because you don't only do music, what are some of the things that you do community-wise?
Well, right now I'm teaching at the KIP Academy. I teach hip-hop. It's called Urban Art. I teach hip-hop and graffiti. Basically, it's a way to give the young people therapy. You have to write your experience in order to understand it. You have to wisdom it, which is wise words and ways and actions. You know what I mean? So you speak on your knowledge and you live out your knowledge to get a greater understanding of what you're dealing with. And I get them to express themselves, things that they choose not to think about because it hurts. I ask them to do assignments such as letters to my father.
Wow.
And a lot of them may not know their father or see their father. I've taught in Spofford, I teach in shelters, you know what I mean, and I'm talking years. And I mean, I've had young people that tell me they walk down the street and bump their father when they see him, like, to create beef. So tell that man
what your beef is
inside of you, what's hurting you, what's hindering your growth and development. Because at the end of the day, our emotional hang-ups, our post-traumatic slave syndrome,
right,
it's what's, hindering our growth and development as a people. It was definitely an ingenious plan to take the man from the home, to stud the man, yes, to kill the alpha in front of everyone, right, to draw and quarter him and kill him in horrible ways so that the mother would say, nah, baby, don't you get up there and fight that man. You saw when they took them 4 horses and pulled them apart, right? Right. Or you saw when they cut that baby out and gun-butted that baby in front of everybody. Right. And I recall my mother one day, I wrote this real ill poem about Bush, and I spit it to her. I was getting ready to go to New Orleans and do this tour down there, and she started crying, baby, don't read that, they're going to kill you.
Because that's the fear that they instilled in our women. Because if I could do this to your man, this is who protects you. Indeed. So if I could take him out, if I could violate him in front of you, then of course the woman is going to tell her kids, no, I don't want you to die. I don't want you to get killed. And it's funny because I read something that my homeboy T. Parrish shared, and he said, please don't comment until you read the whole thing. And he said, it said, single black women are raising bitch-ass niggas, right? So now I got a son. So I was immediately offended, like, what? My son ain't no bitch-ass nigga.
So you didn't even pause.
But I said, wait. He said, read it to the end. So now I keep seeing me and my son in here. because they saying that us women, we instill our emotions, our feelings. We hardwire our sons' brains.
Without question.
Our sons react on what they mama went through or how a man treated their mom. So now you a bitch ass nigga because you being a bitch like your mom. Like, sorry for all the language, but it's like we teach them this. We teach them to cry and use emotions and pout and whine about stuff instead of teaching them to communicate with another man. Or we can't show them how to be a man because they never seen a man. They never seen us with a man.
That's where I would, agree. I don't want to necessarily make it look as though it is your fault when my mother did the best she could.
Right.
And you can't tell me Sandy wasn't the greatest person on the planet.
Right.
I named my label after her. That's Sandy's House Entertainment because ain't nothing bad come out of Sandy's house.
Right.
Now, do I know her limitations insofar as raising a man? Yeah, because I had to go through those end results, which is a great reason that I had the gods. My parents divorced when I was 7. I'm very much like my pops, but I'm also more like my mother. Because I ended up having to be the quote-unquote man of the house.
That's what he said.
Now picture being told you the man of the house when you're 7.
Yeah.
And you want your daddy to come home.
Yeah.
Because your daddy's young, strong, cock diesel, little, they call him Karate George, little Vietnam vet. Like, come on, man. That's my pops right there. I'm good.
Right.
But I'm not good because he'll be here Sunday. And I got to hold it down
the rest of the week.
You understand what I'm saying? From Monday to Saturday, that's on me. And my little sister, that's on me.
Right.
So I'm fighting everybody in the projects. And it's just me and my sister, so they decide they all cousins. Picture 9 people knocking at your door talking about, come outside. And I'm coming outside. To get jumped.
You had to be the man.
You understand what I'm saying? Like, but it was just that real, And at the end of the day, you could say, I wouldn't get that back for the world, but I would. I want my daddy.
Right.
And I got my father living with us now. We moved him from Virginia back up to where he is, got an apartment down the street from us and everything. And it's great because he has another chance with my son.
Right. And that's very important. Even when the father's figures mess up in our lives and they have a chance to make it up with the kids, it's very important for these kids to have somebody to go to.
Sure indeed. Sure indeed.
Especially males. I mean, girls, we need men that we know is there for us to protect us, and we need to know how a real man treats a real woman, and we need to know these things, but we also need to learn how to be a real woman ourselves. And who's teaching us how to be women? Who's teaching us how to be ladies?
It's hard when you got to be a man at the same time, right?
Trust me, I raised 5 kids, 4 of them girls. 1 of them is my son. And yes, my son also was forced to be the man of the house. And he's our protector and our ruler. And right now he's in prison. So now I have 4 daughters, 2 granddaughters, and me. And we're quote unquote unprotected. But he shouldn't have never had to be forced to be our protector.
Right, exactly. Right,
so,
exactly.
and some of that comes from women too. We want to kick our man out because he don't have a job, and we want to kick him out because of this and that. When in other nationalities, they don't kick that man out the house. That man is staying. I don't care if he sleep with Annie, Jane, he better be home at dinner time. That check better come. He better pay those bills. And he better show up for every family event with these kids all the way to college. But black women, sorry black ladies, we be like, no, get out. As soon as they do one thing, get out. Get out.
Well, you know what? when your life is at stake every moment, and this is for man and woman, we make desperate decisions. And because we're around each other each and every day, in each and every situation, you get tired of a person?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know you going through it, but so am I. I don't want to hear that shit. So we become desensitized to each other.
Yes.
And lose the ability to care because we've been at war for 500 years.
Right.
And we've been losing here.
Mm-hmm.
And when you look at 3/4 of our people that don't even want to know what happened to us, I'd rather dye my hair, get my body augmented, change my name, change my eyes, bleach. You know what I'm saying? I call myself, like I have a Haitian friend growing up who called himself French. Like, word? Do you understand that was the pearl of the Caribbean? Do you understand that sanctions did that to Haiti because they actually kicked the white man out of it?
Yeah, like the French people came and enslaved
Toussaint Louverture, and then Dessalines came behind them, and they straight murdered him up. Got him out of there to where France had to sue. Think about that. I done whooped your ass so much you had to get a bunch of countries to keep this little island in check. So you starve them out and everything else because you can't win.
Right.
And you think about growing up fighting the children of your oppressors. I didn't take losses.
Right.
Except we don't have any place on the planet that manufacture weapons.
Actually,
I wonder why.
It's amazing. So, what is your take on? Sometimes I ask people questions about how they feel about. It's pretty clear how people feel when police kill unarmed, innocent men. It's clear about that.
Right.
But how do you feel about when we commit acts of violence against one another?
It hurts me because you're killing yourself.
Yourself.
And that's only due to a lack of the knowledge of yourself. When I look at another black man, I see myself because we teach Allah as one. My physical body is just a machine.
Right.
I use that. My mind is who I am. My brain is my hard drive.
Right.
And just like, electricity goes through the wires in a machine to cause the machine to do the things that it has to do, nerves carry electric impulses throughout the body to cause the body to do what you have to do. The mind is who you are, and the mind is energy, and energy always has been here, is always going to be here. You can't create nor destroy energy. I know I'm eternal. I have no beginning nor ending. And I just use different bodies in different times of life. Like, it's wild looking at myself at 13 and myself at 74 right now when I deal with my father, myself, and then me at 47. Because I understand this eternal life.
That's
I see
definitely
myself
a
in you.
fact,
So
though.
when we fighting each other and killing each other, you're killing yourself.
Yourself. You're killing yourself. So what advice would you have to the youth? Or sometimes we can't just blame it on the youth because it's grown people out here doing senseless acts of violence and things of this nature. So what would you have to say to these people if you only had one chance to reach them and get a message out to everyone? What would you say to them?
I got one go-to that I would use when I run on the block and I see the brothers that's selling drugs and I feel like building with them this time. I ask them a question like, why you love the devil? And they look at me like I'm crazy. And I say, well, he don't give you nothing. What you love him for? They're like, what you talking about? I'm like, how long you been out here hustling, B? How much money you got? And then when you get that, you know what I'm saying, you get knocked, your whole shoebox goes to the lawyer. And you back on the block with nothing. You love the devil. You out here 24/7. And he gives you nothing.
Nothing.
And then I'll pull out the 1 to 36 and show them that those are 2 degrees of the 1 to 36.
I love it. I love it. So tell us some of the people you have worked with and tell us about your new project.
Okay. Well, worked with, are we talking about the new project or just in general?
In general. Let's start from in general.
So let's take it back. My big cousin is Don Barron, you know what I mean, from Masters of Ceremony with Pooh and them. So, I grew up hearing him going diddly 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 since we was little boys. He always did that because he loves reggae music and that's where he got that from, right? Before Heavy D and all them cats was yelling diddly diddly, y'all need to listen to Sexy and all that other stuff. You know where it came from. Keep it a buck, rest in peace, Have 914, you know what I mean? Jazzy J's studio was the first place he bought me. I'm sitting around a bunch of Zulus and, I'm feeling myself. I'm about 20 years old. I'm like, oh my God, I'm about to make a record with my big cuz. They're like, yeah, put the headphones on. You in the booth. I'm like, nah, I can hear it. I can feel it. Hence, 3 years later, my career starts, right? Because I wasn't ready. You know what I mean? And the first song we did that we put out was with Redhead Kingpin, a song called Who Am I God, right? We were in the studio, and he was in the other control room. And, our manager told him we was in there, so he came to check and see what he was doing. He liked it. He said, yo, come in here. So he went to his booth, and he had this beat playing. He was like, yo, if y'all could rock on this, we'll do it. I'll shoot a video for it real soon. Video? Back then, videos.
Video.
Word? We about to blow up. You know what I'm saying? So we do the song, Who Am I? God, right there. Wrote it right there. Killed it right there. You know what I mean? 2 weeks later, his word was his bond. He had us out in Inglewood and Hackensack area, New Jersey.
Shooting a video.
We shooting the video. You know what I'm saying? And it was dope. And 2 weeks after that, after it came out, he got dropped off his label. You know what I'm saying? And that was crazy, So I'm in the barbershop cutting hair in Macadocious, and I get word from LL Cool J. Like, yo, I heard LL like your joint, so-and-so, pass that down. I'm on this mixtape, I'm on that mixtape. Then Flex plays our single Haagen-Dazs one day while I'm cutting somebody's hair. My man JDL, you know, young MCs, wild nice, big up JDL. He's like, yo, Kaz, get out the chair, sit down, man. You know, I hear my song come on, and I mean, literally, you can see my mouth in my ears. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to, you know, you know, it was wild. It was
I
wild.
can imagine. That's an amazing feeling.
Yeah, it was. And, you know, D-Dot, you know, D-Dot was like, yo, my first royalty check, you know, was just like certain amount of money. It wasn't all that, but I had never seen that much money before. You know, I almost lost it on myself. I'm like, wow, you know, these stories were retarded. You know what I'm saying? Let's see, AG Allah, you know, he was Adolf the Assassin back then. You know what I mean? We did shows like, oh my goodness, Howard Homecoming. We did the first summer jams. I wanted to make sure we say that.
Wow.
We did the first summer jams at the Harlem Armory. We did the, what's the name, the Howard Homecoming joint when all the clubs in Howard and in DC shut down. You know what I'm saying? And Biggie, Pooba, all of them was on the same stage. It was ridiculous, the things that we were around and amongst. And we didn't know a lot of these people were gonna be historic hip hop figures, legendary figures. We all trying to get ours. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, I remember Clark Kent playing Jay-Z's first album to us. Okay, I like 22 Twos. Some of the joints on there was hot, but whatever. My DJ at this time was Woofy. Y'all getting ready to battle right now. Clark, what's up? Because Woofy was nice after, you know, after Infinite, we, you know, left the group, you know. Woofy about to battle you, and I'm about to battle you on graffiti. You know, he's like, I'm nice with letters. I'm like, I'm all right with letters, but I'm dope with characters, you know. He's like, well, I'm a king. I'm like, well, I'm King Kasim Allah. He's like, all right, well, you know, and it was great. We like, this is about to happen. We had 5 labels bidding over us. You know what I'm saying? Like, Quest was kind of peace. I remember the first show, Busta Rhymes, like, Tip has always been a good dude. You know what I mean? Been a couple opportunities I had to build with him. I remember we was in a cypher building
and
outside.
And he's talking about Q-Tip people.
Yeah, no doubt. You know, I remember being in the cypher outside after our first EMI show. It was a Light, Wisdom, and Sound show. You know, it's funny how you remember all that stuff, you know. And, you know, Busta was walking around the cypher, just peace to the gods, peace to the gods. He never came in the cypher and added on that day, you know what I'm saying? But it was peace to the gods, you know, and it's those memories when you 20-something years old and you're energetic that carries you. Because at this age, people ask me, yo, why are you doing hip-hop now?
I mean, why not?
You had a whole run. Because after you write a song, you know what I'm saying, that goes triple platinum and 35 mil worldwide, and you see not a damn dime, it takes a lot of steam from you. You know, so I kept rhyming and everything, but, you know, it got to a point where 2000 was coming, I'm about to hit 30 now. Like, what am I still doing this for? My sister like, yo, write a poem. She was an established spoken word artist. Write a poem. I'm like, whatever.
But do you think that, I always tell people this, and I always speak about this, but do you think being creative in music has an expiration date?
No.
So, I mean, as long as my brain works, and, I mean, even if my brain don't work, like, if my eyes could roll back and forth to the beat, or something, if I could tap, I could still be creative. I could be 99.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Well,
so
your motivation, really, you know, when you get robbed of all that, like, you know, it's...
The industry
growing up in
out.
poverty, yeah, that did. You know, but growing up in poverty, you know what I mean, and having an entire new life dangled in front of you. You watch what, you know, I watch what my mother went through. I'm like, yeah, I'm about to do this.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? I'm like, yeah, Pops, I got you. We about to move up out of here. That White House you wanted, Ma, that lake you wanted right there so we could fish the trees that'll help you with your asthma. Right. Yeah, we gonna do that. And then she died at 56 years old. Wow. You know what I mean? Poor. Knowing all this stuff that was supposed to happen. So it takes a lot from you. You know what I mean? And I got into poetry, and it was like 13, 14 years of spoken word. That was my therapy.
Are you definitely gonna give us a sample of spoken word, right?
I guess so. I could do a little.
Because your knowledge is too much for you to keep to yourself. And sometimes we think, like, I thought too that I should have been, I mean, I was doing this before Nicki Minaj, before Remy, before Little Kim. Like, I was doing this before them. And then they came out and they voice kind of sound like mine. And maybe that could have been me. And but I look at the things that these people, because if we signed contracts, if we was under anybody else's rule, dominion, thumb, You couldn't be Kasim Allah. You would have to be Kazi Kaz or whoever they want to make you. With the tight pants, you done signed a contract, put on the dress, and go out there. And you wouldn't have never went for that.
No, I don't know. I left the industry in '96 when my former managers was like, yo, Kaz, why don't you cut off your locks, put on a suit, you know, use your deep voice and rhyme to the girls like Father MC. Actual fact. That's a
And
quote.
if you didn't do it, then what did they do?
Let me show you what this poor little project kid that was nice with his clippers. I said, you know what? Peace. That's not me. He said, well, we at so-and-so are no longer in the business of teaching. I said, well, that's good.
They're not in the business of teaching at any record label, any radio station. No one's in the business of teaching.
Nah, because, you know, conscious music was gone now. People cut off their head, put on some fatigues, had automatic weapons, and was walking over sand dunes throwing guns in the air. The times had changed. So they didn't think they could sell that anymore.
Right.
Which shows you right there, like, nobody was interested in teaching or uplifting and building a nation. Right. It's more about getting this paper. You know, so you could tell me what you want to tell me when you're romancing us to get us to sign with you. But it becomes a different thing once that door you kick open and it closed behind you.
Definitely.
Because we always hear the stories about somebody kicking the door open, hold the door open for me, open the door, whatever. I'm going to step through that threshold or what have you. But you don't hear the stories really of what happens when the door closed behind you.
And they not really holding the door open for other people either because they slamming it. A lot of people's getting in these doors. Boom. They say you coming, boom. Because the door been slammed in my face a few times. But God opens up doors that no man can slam in my face. And he makes new doors for me. New lanes. He even knocks down buildings and tears down walls. So I definitely understand where you're coming from. And we as a people, it might be a little bit of us, but we bigger than the multitude. The little bit of us is way bigger than the multitude of people, like you say, why you love the devil. Why you love the devil.